In our lives, we tend to lose track of time. Never was this more impactful in the life of Mrs. Howardson than in the summer of 1982, though his experiences were therein are not the focus of the tale I relate to you now. In fact, if you were to ask his first daughter about 1982, you'd simply receive a blank stare. This girl of immense beauty was hidden away from the world, which she could explain any confusion to those who knew Teresa Howardson, is most attributed as being the oldest daughter, and who would disagree when his firstborn daughter was such a secret to the world. Now, you may at this moment be expecting a horrific personality from Mr. Howardson, but you must keep in mind that his Journey to Sea journey in concert was so famous among strangers that his home life was put upon the back burner, something everyone agreed upon, even his late wife when she was still around. Now, when he remained and had a son, this secret life was nearly buried due to his ignorance, but alas, I must speak on the rest of the story, and so cannot dwell in negative expletives on or demean his character. Now, let me begin the story of Mr. Howardson's first and oldest, to this day, undisputedly, daughter, Thumbellina. The story begins on a cold winter's day in 1979. Mr. Howardson, rather, at the time, Dr. Howardson, was called into his wife's bedchamber to deliver a baby, his own, and was met with a surprise. His wife held the newborn already delivered, albeit in the palm of her hand. Taken as a blessing rather than a curse, he set to work immediately and used tweezers and a magnifying glass to wrap the baby, as she was in all aspects still an infant, human child, after all, even if she was half a centimeter tall, into a swaddle of a blanket. His shock wore off as he had seen war, being a doctor and all. Quickly, he determined his new family would be his constant pride and joy. Taking him now from her mother's grasp, he gently lifted her on her wrapped around the room. His reception of Thumbellina was always a soft spot in his wife's heart. The next step was a trifle, to say the least, on their well-thought-out plan to care for the newborn. Will she grow past that? Is she premature? I thought for certain everything was on time, his wife said that day. Yet Dr. Howardson did not know. A beautiful anomaly, ours to cherish and keep, was his only reply. He immediately set to work, after placing her in a gingerbread house for safekeeping and inventing an instrument so he could hear her tiny cries and coos. His development was a gramophone, a precursor to many an invention, and a way and any time Thumbellina cried, the whole house, and the neighborhood for that matter, was alerted. With care and consideration, she grew to become a very vivacious and well-mannered child. At his inquiry from anyone about his wife's child, he lied and stated she had only decided to be a surrogate due to many factors. The questions ceased after a police investigator publicly stated to leave the Howardsons be. And what else was he to say after seeing the angelic face of Thumbellina? Time, along with public topic of conversation, moved.